The ward fire had begun to die. What Maren burned into the altar fissure bought minutes, and the minutes were already running. In the narrowing light, Thorn spoke first. "Let me carry it out. I know the threshold. I know what it costs. The roots know what the branches forget, and I am the one who planted this particular poison. By the oaths I no longer hold, you do not get to spend your life and call it justice. That is the easy exit, Thorn. I have taken it myself, and I know what it is." Vex had not moved from the floor. The script that burned through their arms was not fading. It was resonating, the vial's pulse matching the twins' signature beat for beat, as if the dead were still holding it steady. Very quiet, clinical, with a hairline crack beneath. The vial is not breaching in my hands. The resonance it is recognizing the signature. My twin's death is the only thing keeping this contained right now. I do not think any of you can hold it. Stripped of warmth flat. "Darling, you wound me. But that is not an argument for you dying. That is an argument for understanding what you actually are to that thing inside the glass." Measured, Maren, the inscription. "The fifth key was never yours to carry. You have known since you read it. Tell me again, slowly, who the sixth member was." Clipped, each word placed like a stone. Her name was Varek-Sorel, 23. She was Varek-Sorel's daughter. She came with us on the original survey of this dungeon 20 years ago, and she did not leave it. The name fell into the sanctum like a dropped blade. Kala, a sixth set of hands that had touched the dungeon's first seals, a daughter, hidden in the archive's long memory, and in Maren's silence for 2 decades. Very quiet. "I sealed her file myself. Aaron asked me to. I believed it was grief. Tell me again, slowly, how many things I have been carrying that I should not have." The amber fire in the fissure went out, not guttered, extinguished, as if something below drew a breath so vast it pulled the light into itself. The floor crack reopened 3 inches in under a second. Soft, not quite toneless, something beneath it now. "The dead remember what the living choose to forget, and this one has been remembering for decades. It knows we are here. It knows which of us is carrying it." Second vessel. "Thorn, the empty one. If I consecrate it with ward fire from inside this room, does it anchor the simultaneous destruction? Yes or no?" No deflection. "Yes. But the ward fire that breaks it has to come from something the Warden recognizes as a genuine cost. Not just fire. A debt paid, not performed." Vex stood. The script on their arms blazed as they rose. Not painfully, or not only painfully, but like something being fulfilled. They cradled the vial against their chest and walked toward the passage mouth without looking back. Barely above a whisper, each word precise, "My twin carried something they should not have carried, and no one was there when the cost came due. The dead remember. I will not forget." Clipped, cracking under it, Vex. Tell me again slowly, that you know what crossing that threshold starts." Stopping, not turning. "It starts the end. When you hear the Warden scream above ground, break the vessel. Don't wait to know if I survived. Break it." Maren had carried the name the way a surgeon carries a blade, with the full knowledge of the damage it could do. She had chosen, for 20 years, not to make the cut. Aaron, Varek. She was the sixth. She walked these passages with us, and then she chose to stop existing so she could build something worse. Long silence. "By the oaths I no longer hold." She was standing in this room with us 20 years ago, and we never asked why she left. Very quiet, clinical fracturing into raw. "The script is not burning me. It is holding. My twin's resonance is threading through the vial's seal, counteracting the breach pressure. If I set this down, the bond breaks." "You are saying you are the seal, not the glass, you. Tell me again, slowly, what happens if another hand carries it to the threshold?" Softest voice. "The dead remember what the living choose to forget. My twin died feeding this thing. I will not hand it to someone else to finish what that cost them." Maren looked at the second vessel. Her ward fire pooled cold and silver at its base, and the glass shivered, then held. The anchor would hold. she would stay. Thorn did not run. He dropped. Both palms hit the cracked obsidian, and the dungeon, his dungeon, the one he had prepared and betrayed and wept for, answered him one last time. Almost peaceful. The roots know what the branches forget. I prepared this passage for Aaron. I am giving it to you instead. The warden will follow the deeper wound, follow me inward, long enough for the rest of you to move. Unable to move, by the oaths I no longer hold. Thorn, if you go further in, the seal closes behind you. I still shut a small ruined I know where the roots reach. I have always known. Go. Sable pressed the remnant of the warded pouch into Vex's hands, not as a tool, but as a gesture, the kind people make when words are not sufficient and silence is not enough. Lo, the lilt entirely gone, almost inaudible. For what it's worth, and I know it isn't much, I didn't know about your twin, not until tonight. I'm sorry I carried it without knowing what it cost. The dead, remember. That is enough. Vex did not repeat what Sable whispered next. They turned toward the ascending dark and began to climb. The script on their arms blazed gold and did not waver. Below the cracked floor, the hollow warden felt the corridor open. It turned, the way a vast, ancient thing turns, not quickly but completely. Thorns working caught it like a thorn catches cloth. It pulled inward. The sanctum held its breath. Very quiet alone. If Vex reaches the threshold and the warden releases before you destroy the anchor, you will know. The floor will tell you. Hands steady, ward fire perfectly controlled, voice like iron. I have conducted interrogations in burning buildings, Aldrich. I know how to wait for the right moment. The truth always announces itself. Above them, in the dark ascending corridor, the script on Vex Morndal's arms burned gold against the stone. A moving flame, climbing toward the surface, carrying the weight of everything the dungeon had swallowed. The threshold waited. The dungeon exhaled, not wind, intent. The teal light in the walls had begun to pulse in time with something below, slow and patient and vast, tracking the vial the way a tongue tracks a wound. It's following the vial, the walls. Feel it? Like the whole passage is swallowing around us. I know. Don't slow down. The script is holding the resonance inside the glass. The moment my concentration breaks, the vial reads as open. Thorn's channeling caved. Not gradually. The druidic light in his hands simply went out, like breath leaving a body, and the fissure pulled. It pulled with purpose. Let it take me. It wants the channel, not the man. Aldrich, let... By the oaths I no longer hold, you do not get to decide that. Not today. Not like this. Aldrich dragged him free. The fissure snapped shut behind them like a jaw denied. 10 seconds lost. The ward fire on the altar had already dropped to a crawl of pale light. Maren had performed consecrations in courtrooms and crypts, and once in a burning granary. She had never performed one, knowing the cost was someone else's life, crossing a threshold above her head. Barely audible. The vessel receives, the vessel holds, the vessel will not carry this forward. How much longer do you need? As long as Vex takes to reach the gate. Tell me again, slowly, that they are still moving. The gate was 14 inches of iron-banded stone between a contained god and an open world. Vex stopped at the line where torchlight ended and outside air began, and felt the warden notice. Very quiet. You don't have to say anything. I know what I told you down there. I meant it. The dead remember what the living choose to forget. Sale remembered. That's enough. Vex stepped across the threshold. The warden's breach was immediate and total, a pressure that had no direction, only weight, and the script on their arms went white and silent as new bone. 2 destructions, one above, one below. The architects of the ritual had called it simultaneous. What they had not said was that simultaneous felt like being erased by the same hand at both ends. The hollow warden's breath did not taper. It stopped, mid-exhale, mid-feeding, the way a candle stops when the air runs out. The dungeon went dark from the roots upward. In the ravine, the vial in Vex Morndal's hand was cold glass and nothing else. Above, the burning script on their arms had gone silent. Vex did not move. Sable did not approach. The silence had weight, and neither of them yet knew what it was made of. The burning script faded slowly, a tide going out, but for one breath before the last line cooled, a name surfaced on the skin, not a wound, a witness. Lo, the performance entirely absent. Did it hurt, crossing the threshold? Did you feel them? Barely audible. The dead remember what the living choose to forget. I felt them let go. That's all I'll say about it. Flat, the warmth engineered back into place but not quite reaching her eyes. Before you ask, yes, I held it back. She gave it to me when she hired me and said to open it only after the dungeon sealed. Darling, you wound me if you think I didn't consider burning it. Cold, controlled, extending her hand without looking up. Tell me again, slowly. You were given this note at hire 3 months ago, and you said nothing. I didn't know what it meant then. I do now. That's why I'm handing it to you instead of running. A long pause before each cla. By the oaths I no longer hold, she is telling the truth. Her hands are empty. Let Maren read. Lady Erin Varek-Sorel had planned for every delay. The note confirmed it. The archive's sealed sublevel would lock permanently at the completion of the sunrise cycle, the Varek bloodline key dissolving with the last ward. After that, no inquisitor's fire would open it. Clipped, reading aloud without inflection. The work completes at dawn's second hour. The sublevel seals. What is inside remains inside. What was outside was never real. She wrote this 3 months ago. She planned for us to be too late. How long is the ride to the capital? 6 hours, hard road. We have 4 before the second hour. We ride now, or we do not ride at all. The dungeon did not follow them, but it had given things away and taken them. Thorn's right arm would not fully close. The name on Vex's skin was already gone, leaving only cooled silence where grief had burned. Soft, almost to themselves. The dead remember what the living choose to forget. I remembered enough. That will have to be sufficient. Slow, stripped of metaphor, barely above a whisper. I know the archive's layout, the cartography vault, the third ring. I can draw it when I can hold a pen. I owe you that much. I owe you far more. Dawn broke over the capital like a warning. The Grand Archive's doors stood open. The sublevel's entrance would not. The third ring seals when light hits the south spire. We have 4 minutes. No stops. 4 minutes to stop 40 years of very patient evil. Perfectly reasonable. The note was bloodline. Varek blood encoded in ink and arrogance. Maren burned it against the seal, and the door recognized what it had been waiting for. 20 years I carried that scar. I don't need it anymore. Maren, the brand? It's gone. I noticed. Come, she had not fled. The cartography vault held her like the dungeon had held everything else. Patient, sealed, inevitable. I expected you 3 days ago. The dungeon was more cooperative than I planned. Tell me again, slowly, why Dorian had to die. You can't. The resonance will destroy you with it. Step back. The dead remember what the living choose to forget. I remember my twin's name. Vex spoke the name aloud, the name that had burned on their skin for 6 years without a voice to carry it. The vessel shattered. The warden's last thread dissolved into silence, and for a single breath, the vault smelled like summer rain on stone. Barely a whisper. There, it's done. You don't own them anymore. The city guard would arrive in minutes. Thorn breathed. Erin said nothing more. Sable was gone before the first bell. She had always known which doors to leave through. Quiet, looking at the coin. By the oaths I no longer hold. She left us a crescent. She never stopped being hired, did she? Flat tired. She left us alive. For Sable, that's the same thing. Looking at bare forearms. The script is gone. I thought it would feel like less. It feels like mourning.